A very good evening to all present here. Jasudban ML School has taken yet another step to provide a holistic learning experience to its students. Struggles define us, stories complete us, and ideas differentiate us. Today, we are extremely delighted and proud to welcome you to the first ever student-led TEDx-inspired platform at Jasudban ML School, Junoon JML. Junoon Junoon JML is a platform for the students, teachers, parents, and alumni of our school to share their stories, ideas, and struggles. Today's topic is mental health, which is an increasingly pertinent issue. However, it is not addressed enough. The rules for today are: we request all participants to remain on mute for the entire duration of the session. Videos must be switched off at all times. In case of any disruption, we will be compelled to ask you all to leave the meeting. If you have any questions for the speakers, we would like you all to put it into the chat box and the speakers will address them after their speeches are over.
Our two speakers for today are Saloni Lakhia and Krish Tanmani. Saloni is what one would call a hyphenated professional. She is academically trained in law, psychology, peace and conflict resolution, and her professional engagement ranges from social, legal reforms with the government to youth and women community inclusion projects, literary editing for the first time, and established authors who have been published at Penguin India, Bloomsbury, and HarperCollins. She has been the youngest to report to a sitting of Home Ministers of the state, has published handbooks simplifying the complex criminal laws while she was still in law school. She has also been one of the youngest South Asian recipients to an international fellowship to pursue a master's in Tokyo. Her research has been published for the G20 Summit, central and state governments, and various other regional platforms. Our theme for today's event is mental health. Depression, anxiety, and stress are issues often underlooked. However, today there is a need to talk. So now I welcome our Honorable Principal, Mr. Damayanti Bhattacharya, to say a few words before we begin with our session.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My apologies for this delay. I'm not so tech savvy, so I got a little stuck. But nonetheless, it is my proud privilege to welcome you all to Jasudban's first ever talk show, Junoon. The brainchild of some of the finest minds of our school, this platform is open to the current and old students of JML to air their stories of love, hatred, passion, and despair without the fear of being judged. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, life is the story of our successes and failures, but each story is unique and each story is different. So come share your thoughts on Junoon. So proud of you, children, so proud of you for taking this initiative. I wish Junoon and you the very best today and always. A special thank you is due to our management, especially Mr. Hazrat, for his continuous and unstinting encouragement, Ms. Shachi Manik for silently helping the team all the way, Mrs. Shilpa Gandhi for herding her flock in the right direction, Ms. Geeta Sanil, and all the other teachers of the school for their love, encouragement, and support. For you are truly, ladies and gentlemen, the wind beneath their wings. So God bless you, and may Junoon have a long and happy stint in Jasudban. God bless.
Thank you, ma'am. So with the stage set, we begin with Saloni. Welcome. Ma'am, Saloni, before you begin, I'd just like to remind everyone to keep their videos off and themselves on mute. Saloni, please unmute yourself and start with this speech. Thank you.
On the assumption that not only is everything going to be okay with the system I'm using, but also based on the introduction that you heard. We believe that everything that was said is true, so then this has to be an error. work hard, couldn't be far from it. I find my roots at JML, and I find who I am today because of this school. And nor was I somebody where this became the turning point to my flying academic excellence. So this is what my mark sheet for the 5-year law program that I did looks like. I have failed about 5 papers out of 10 semesters. And cumulatively across those 10 semesters, I got a 50.3%. And mind you, the passing is 45%. But I still managed to pass the bar, and I became a lawyer. And this school has inadvertently taught me a lesson which has allowed me to presently engage with all of these organizations. Some of them I read about only in the textbooks that your vice principal actually introduced me to during classes. And even these country flags, it felt like things I read in textbooks, and now I actually report to them, I work for them and with them. So it's been pretty surreal. And one of the things that JML and the teachers inadvertently taught me was something that was totally out of syllabus, and I call it 101 ways to fail and 102 ways to overcome it. And that is a book I intend to write at some point for sure. So my first brush of failure was with chemistry. I think I got a 23 out of the 35, and it was really bad, and it really broke me. But it also relieved me, because you see, I was in 7th grade, and my relief at being told that now I would be dropping science, and I would apparently get the easier option of environmental science. So I failed, and the lesson of it was that you can avoid it and you can find a way around it. The second time I failed was to do with school friendships. I was always a bit different, and I think I was always a bit different, and I didn't notice them. I think a lot of the teachers knew, and they tried to protect me from my own devices of going all out. But if this was a dialogue, I think they would have far more interesting stories to share about that than I do. So my social law was pretty basic, and I tried really, really hard. I chased a lot, and a lot of those things could have been off-putting for those that had to accept it. So no blame here, but I did struggle to make friends and hold on to them, more importantly. So when we had to go for these school trips, the nightmare when you had to decide who your room buddy or your partner on these trips would be. That's one thing I don't miss about being away from school. So what I failed in was to fit in, and I never realized it then, but if I just allowed myself to be me, to not try and be somebody I wasn't, it would have been a very different story, and there was no failure which was as big and as wonderful as that of my friends. And I've always loved studying. I can tell you exactly where I was, what class, what desk, when your now vice principal first introduced Shakespeare to me. I can tell you the shock that I felt when in my class of about 30 or 25 students, most of them raised their hands to talk about, to agree to the question that yes, the colonial rule did more good than harm. I remember looking around at that point and thinking, have they not read Dadabai Naoroji's Drain of Wealth theory? And me asking that question at that age is a clear indicator of why I didn't fit in. But it's also a clear indicator that I studied, that I was prepared, or so I thought. I was well acquainted with my friends' Roman countrymen speech from Caesar, or I was well acquainted with Saloni Lakhia and Untitled from Gujarati texts, and I had all my French conjunctions in my brain. However, the education system did not care of how passionately I wrote these complex English or Gujarati essays, or the effort I put in writing the French letters. It cared more for what was put in the paper based on their assumptions over my own thoughts. And what they asked for was not something I was good at. Now I also have to pause here and bring in some external context. My parents, like me, are a little bit different, I would say. My mom is a he coming to school, when the teachers would look at me with these really stern looks, Lakhia Tiger, as I would then mumble under my breath, who's not to be messed with. My dad is a school dad, I think visited once and had absolutely no clue what grades his kids were in until I came in ninth, which is when he had to now tap into his retirement fund to pay for all the classes I enrolled myself in. I was so sure that I wanted to excel that I took up extra tuitions and everything. I took extra tests and everything. And he has thanked my mom more than once for not having a child after me. But for all the things that they indulged me and the insanity I indulged them in, there's one thing out of the many that they did really right. And that was that they never cared for marks. Their focus was always on, one, do you understand what you're being taught? Second, do you like or enjoy, or do you just dislike it? What are your thoughts on what you're being taught? What are you learning? And the third was, have you worked hard to study or learn further? And let's be clear, I was not living in unicorn land. There have been far too many in-depth discussions in my performance. And it has come more from the place of saying, the night before the test, it's based on that, day of the test, day of the result. If I worked hard and I didn't get good marks, it was absolutely acceptable. I remember I would get 8 or 9 in these math unit tests, and it would be absolutely heartbreaking to see. So for me to see these marks, and then I would, get going and I would put in my best. I would study so much. I would start dreaming about these numbers in positive light. They weren't nightmares anymore. And I would go give this beautiful paper. And I would finally score a 13, a 1-3 out of the 30. And that score would be celebrated like a full score in my house, because they believed that hard work and perseverance is the big win, regardless of what the output is. So when I say here on this platform that your marks do not define you, I say it to the parents, because what you as a parent say, even when you think the kids aren't listening, or they don't care, or they're just, in their own thing, they're actually listening. It sometimes starts with, oh, but didn't you not really tell me, did you not promise me that you're going to study hard, and what is this? It's that tonality, or it could be something as basic as, just a problem. Or it could be something as basic as, how did she get more if both of you are in the same classes, both in and out of school? And, the fact is that at that age, the kids are like sponges. They are absorbing everything, and it is the processing is where the issue begins. So, for example, in my 10th grade score, which was ranked, I think, 101 or 102 out of a batch of 108 or 112, I knew something had gone terribly wrong. I spent many, many, many weeks and days crying, especially when I saw my friends go to these dream colleges, whereas I made it in the 4th list of the 3rd or 2nd last college that would take me in. And after that period of crying over it and feeling that bad, I also saw it as an opportunity to start afresh. I saw it as a way to say that it was a clean slate. I would be going to a place where I would not know anybody. So I was literally starting back on square one, and I could probably do something about it. I really believed that I didn't work hard. I really believed that my 10th score was so bad because I didn't do well, or I didn't put in the effort, or maybe it was I just believed that I was working hard, but I actually was just full of it, and I didn't put in the effort. It would be the real reason, I think, would come into me on December 6, 2013, when I found myself in a therapist's office 4 days after a panic attack during a law school exam for labor law, a subject I'd actually taught my friends over the last fortnight before the exam. 1 minute, I was writing the answers to the questions I had picked, and that happy rhythm of enjoying the exam was stopped when I turned the page. I spent far too long panicking, and I I spent far too long crying into my paper, and then realized that my best friends in the class with me. So I did what two close friends do. I used empathy to have a look at me, and when she did, she mouthed the words saying, "Stop being so dramatic and just get on with it. It's not that hard." I spent 3 hours in that exam not knowing what to do, and I've been many things in life, but I've never been blank like I was that day. When the exam ended, I stepped out and I went to speak to her when she was very angry at me for saying, she said things like, "It's so unnecessary that you have to do this. We know you're going to excel at it. We know you're going to do well. If you want to do all this unnecessary public drama, I think you should go get help." And that's exactly what I did. A teacher from this school actually helped me find the right doctor and the right clinic. And I knew that there had to be a way out. The first step was to go speak to somebody. And that person, the doctor, was able to diagnose me by saying, "Well, you have test performance anxiety. You have exam performance anxiety." And for anybody else, this is like a hall pass. Great. You don't have to worry about your marks. It doesn't matter. But it's different for me because my entire career was built on being academically competitive. To be academically competitive, no matter how much I enjoy the subject, I had to get the marks to even just pass from one year to the next. But I also knew that there would have to be some method to get out of it and still pursue what I want to do. So I first accepted it for what it was. That is a problem that was not in the game that I'd set myself for. I just now had to tweak the game and, more importantly, my expectations from it. So I decided then that it would not be in the best of my interests to fight the exam fear. I was just finding my feet as a lawyer, and my past experience had given me the cushioning, the school, the family support system. They'd given me the cushioning that the marks would not matter beyond the point. I started focusing from inwards and I started focusing outwards. So I clerked I interned at other places, and I started finding myself in firms and some startup law firms. I genuinely started finding my feet. The other thing that I was doing was I was engaging and educating myself with what it was that I was going through. So of course I went for talk sessions or counseling, as you would call it. And a lot of the times I would come out with book lists. I educated myself because I had learned by then that the method that speaks most to me is the written word. And it was, so I did talk therapy for a while, and then I started finding myself working for organizations that supported women and children from vulnerable parts of society. And then I donned the hat as a legal and a social counselor. So I became a counselor for them, and I saw the full circle coming right before my eyes. The present pandemic is somewhat of a similar experience for many. Plans have been cut short, stress is a norm, and the fear of uncertainty has exponentially increased. And wherever there is uncertainty, there will be a shadow of failure lurking around everywhere. And I find it best to befriend that shadow and normalize failure. It's not easy, but the way I see it is if I could do it at a time where 5% of the present knowledge that we have today with Instagram, with online communities, with normalizing of counseling, normalizing of seeking help, I am confident that anybody with a little bit of courage will be able to see failure for exactly what it is, a temporary distraction. But how do we get that courage? How do we get to that place of courage? I have 3 ways of cultivating it. First is a spoken. So you talk to somebody you trust. It could be your parent, your teacher. If you've got academic counselors, you can seek out counseling outside. You can speak to your aunts, uncles, cousins. I came to seek guidance from my teachers and my parents. Even after I left school, I still came back to them because the way I understood guidance was it was coming from people that had passed the age that I was in. So I believed that they had similar experiences to mine at some point, and I want to learn about how they overcame it. But there have also been days when I've not felt like I could trust anybody. So I've gone to the page, and you write it. You write it for yourself. You write it to yourself. performing. But when we're trying to find what is it that we are feeling, are we really equipped with the right resources? Now, I am a trained psychologist, and still I find myself inaccurately articulating my feelings, which is why this is very handy. From this chart, I think I've mastered the list of fear and of happiness and joy, but the present pandemic has anger as its huge theme. And the way you look at it is you can't feel angry every single day. You'll feel different versions of anger. So it could be a light, a medium, or a strong. And if you know the right words, you are projecting those, just that word, and not the overarching emotion of it. I would really recommend having this list or any other list that you find which suits you best. And you don't need to memorize it, you just need to have it somewhere where you keep going to it. Because just by reading through these many options, you'll be able to find that I'm really not angry as much as I'm probably something else in a lighter form or just a whole different emotion. If we're constantly engaging with the right media, what we're going to do is we're going to stop the themes that we consume from the other aspects. For example, if we're just listening to certain kinds of media, or we're just reading certain people on Instagram, we're only hearing or reading 4 or 5 main emotions. We're not going deeper. We're not learning outside of those 5 words that they keep using. This is your way of coming a step closer to articulating what you are feeling and not what is being projected externally. There will be many things that we will not achieve, like our deal set. And there's going to be so much more to gain and learn from. And it's your resiliency that's going to keep you going. And it's about knowing that, yes, there are demons, and your resiliency is going to be that which will fight it. And there's something very powerful of knowing your authentic self. I would like to close with the 6 practices that help me and that are keeping me grounded during this pandemic especially. The first one is journaling. I was very resistant to this. I didn't start journaling till October 2019. And I use the philosophy of do it for 1 week religiously, and if you don't like it, you leave it and you never do it again. And for that 1 week, I really enjoyed it to the extent that I've not missed more than 4 days from October till date. And if a sloth like me can do it, I am confident you can do it as well. The second is showing up. Showing up can be anything from drinking that bottle of water to completing that assignment, which is a fear trigger for you. We've got so much going on. We're doing essays, we're doing applications, we're doing coursework, we're doing Zoom meetings. We are dealing with family, we're dealing with friends, and sometimes just showing up is hard. But start small and start now, and you build it like that muscle, and then it'll be there for you on days when you really feel worse. The third and my most important is vegetating. That's non-negotiable for me. I have to not do something every single day. I just sit, and if I'm sitting, I could probably read something, or I could watch a series and just Netflix and just vegetate. It is the amount of time that keeps changing. So if for my conversation or my session, all you take is I have to vegetate. No, you vegetate, but you vegetate dependent on how much time you can allow it. So there are days when I've vegetated for 5 minutes, and then there are days where I've vegetated for about 4 hours. But I want you to think about the former example as much as my latter. The next is reaching out. Reaching out at this point is also about just checking in with your friends, just sending them that text, asking them how they're feeling, and waiting for them to actually allow themselves to express it. I remember that I still do it. I send messages to my friends saying, how are you feeling? They'll say nothing, and then I just wait. And I say, I'm waiting. I'll wait here, I'm here for you. And then I'll read a 200-word text that talks about all the things that they're feeling. Sometimes by just reaching out, you're helping them cope with an emotion you probably might also be feeling. So it's a win-win for both. Cultivating empathy is a big theme of this pandemic. Our parents are losing it as much as we are. If we aren't able to figure life, or we think we're not meant to sit at home and study, our parents are sitting at home, they're working, they're dealing with us all the time, They are helping us out. They're doing cleaning, they're doing the cooking, they're doing so many things that they didn't feel they were prepared for. There's also no better time than today, and no better time for the people you're cohabiting with to start learning to be empathetic. Just, you can do a small thing. You can do the dishes without them nagging you to do it. It's just rejoice in that shocked expression they have on their faces when you do it. Sometimes our parents are going to make mistakes. Our parents are going to falter. And it's important we let them falter and make their mistakes without us, hawking around and waiting to correct them because they've corrected us for those million times when we've been wrong. Allow them to put on that, embarrassing video on Instagram or Facebook, or help them with that hashtag or that post that they're trying to put in the last 2 hours or whatever platform that they're using. And now, you're going to be so adept at being empathetic. It's time to extend it. You extend it to your teachers because you spend most of your waking hours with them. These teachers are presently learning to do things they never thought they would ever have to learn. They're teachers, so they're not expected to do these things, but here they are trying to figure out softwares and systems, and they're here figuring out how to make do with a virtual classroom. So if you're being rude, if you're being snarky, buddy, it's more of you than them. As a psychologist, I can say that you're projecting your own insecurities, you're projecting your fears in a very ruthless way to the people that are prepping you for your future. You don't want to be somebody that looks back 10 years from now and looks back thinking that I wish I hadn't done that. The pandemic is allowing you to unlearn, to pause, to reflect, and to decide what is it that you want to take with your future self. You could be in any grade and this is relevant to you. You could be at any age and this is relevant to you. It's not something that adults have to do. It's not something that anybody above 30 has to do. No, it's relevant for every age. And lastly, it's about active listening. This is more to do with your inner critic as well. It's a roller coaster ride. So when we're on a roller coaster, we go from feelings of exhilaration to nervousness to adrenaline, all within a few seconds. And we know that this is going to end. And that's why we allow ourselves to enjoy it. And we see ourselves through it. We don't jump out of the roller coaster ride. We sit through it. Similarly, if we can bring that lens to life today, we know this is going to end, and we know there are going to be things which are going to be different, but there will also be things which will be the same. It's just to remind ourselves that the glass is half full and not empty. I have had always way too many dreams and ambitions, and so many of them were sold by the teachers of the school. So I thank them for all that they've done and for being part of that wonderful story that is my life as of date. I've not had the courage all the time to act on the many lessons, and the farther I went from school, the harder it's been to be that brave every single day. So even I am learning things today. We will always be learning things every day. There's one thing that's always been around me is this quote, which compels me to begin things now. So I urge you to begin it now as well, whatever it is that you dream that you want to begin it now. Thank you very much. I thank the entire team that has put this together. There are 3 Krishas that have set this whole thing up, and the teachers, of course, that have continued to harbor dreams and aspirations of students. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll open the chat for questions. Thank you.